Fantastic, and welcome to this week's episode of Curious Faith, questions and conversations for those thinking about following Jesus. I'm Bill Wallace, I'm the host, and I'm very excited about today's podcast for a number of reasons. One of the smallest reasons why I'm most excited about this is because everyone who is on the show today is in my bubble, so we don't have to film this with masks. Yay! It'll be super fun. Let's welcome in our guests as we dive into our topic for today. You're going to like this one a lot. Hello, guests.
Hi, Father.
Hello, Father.
Excellent. Well, that might have been a giveaway for our next part, but go ahead and introduce yourselves for those who may not know who you guys are.
I'm Carter Wallace. I am Bill's son. Shockingly, I've been here before, so maybe you've listened to me before, but yes, nothing much to it other than being his son. So that's what brings me here.
There you go. Perfect. And?
Yes, and I am also one of Bill's children. I have also been here before. So.
And your name?
And I'm Risa.
And you are Risa. Thank you.
I have a name.
Thank you, Risa. Thank you, Carter. Yes, you both have been on Curious Faith before, but you were both in non-video format before, so this is the first time we get to see your lovely faces.
That's true. Last time I was just in your bedroom.
That's true. Yes, as we recorded, to a little tiny recorder, and then Reese, you actually were with Simone.
Yeah, I was actually here.
You were here
at
in
the
the
church.
Building.
Whoa.
Very exciting. Very good. But yes, thank you for doing this. Again, you're not just here because you're my children, but in particular because of the topic that we're going to dive into here in just a moment. But first, as always, we try to do just a question that allows people to get to know each other a little bit, get to know a little bit about you. So this week's question is just for Carter and I, because tomorrow is Reese's birthday.
That is true. It is. It is my birthday tomorrow.
17. So you and I get to share one of our favorite memories of Risa. I thought that would be a fun way of getting to know.
There's so many, it's going to take me a while to
there
think
are,
of one.
but thankfully I will start since I knew the question ahead of time. I just shared this with Risa not too long ago. This is absolutely one of my favorite memories. I love this. I think about this all the time. When we were out at camp, Cascades Camp, and it was before Risa was as addicted to Cascades Camp as Risa is now. It goes there all the time. So you'd come out, I think maybe we were picking up the boys or something like that. However it was, you were going to go off the blob. And for those that don't know what a blob is, you kind of walk up a pretty high tower, then you jump on this huge, giant inflatable that launches a person who's at the other end of the inflatable out into the lake.
It's like a really, really big, multicolored marshmallow.
Yes, yeah, it's very much like that. And it's not that big, but when you're a small person, it looks very big. It looks very intimidating. And so Risa really wanted to do this, had never done this before. So you climbed up onto the platform, and you're going to jump onto the blob. Which was scary. And so you were a little nervous, and you were trying to psych yourself up to do it, and I couldn't actually be on the platform, but I was near enough to you where I heard you say out loud to yourself, "Sometimes hard things can be good things." And then you jumped. And I love that. I love that so much.
What a good saying.
Isn't that a great saying? Sometimes hard things.
How old were you?
Like,
I don't know.
10.
Profound 10-year-old.
Baby Risa was really philosophical.
Truly. That has just stayed with me. And I've shared that with all kinds of people, so I thought I should at least share that with
Sometimes
you.
hard things can be good things.
Sometimes hard things
That's
can
a very
be good
good saying,
things.
actually.
That's really profound
very, very
from
good.
young 10-year-old Risa.
I don't even remember saying that.
Well, you were 10, so it's okay.
So
okay, I thought of one here for your birthday. I'll be a little sappy here for you. Ooh. So it chuckles me thinking of like best memory about people with my own family.
Yes.
Because I don't really think of like moments with people with my own family because I just have a lifetime with them, you know?
Yeah.
But I do remember one specific night. I'm not even sure if you'll remember it, but it was last year after I decided to take a gap year and stay home for the whole year. And I just remember I was in my room, and for some reason, you and Sage came down, and we just hung out in my room and laughed about stuff for like 2 hours, and I just remember thinking that it was a good thing that I decided to stay home because I was happy at home and I was enjoying myself with my siblings.
That's so cute.
That
Aw.
is very sweet. I didn't
You're
know that
welcome.
one either. There you go. You could share a favorite memory about yourself, I guess.
Yeah,
If
what's
you-
your own favorite memory?
I don't know. My favorite memory about myself was when I was born.
There.
What a
Because now I have a birthday when I get presents.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's a good reason. That is good.
Good stuff all around. I love it. I love it. Perfect. Good. Thank you for being here today. And again, you really are here because of your particular expertise and insight in our topic for today. We're going to talk about WandaVision.
And that's all we know.
Woo! That's all you guys know. For anybody that may be listening or watching, if you have not watched WandaVision yet, I'm just going to say that we're going to spoil the whole dang
True.
thing.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
If
If you haven't watched
Can
all
we
of
get
WandaVision,
one of like the big text letters over us?
yes, Tim will
Spoiler
absolutely
alert.
do that. Tim
Spoilers.
will throw spoiler alert all
You do
over
that,
this right
Tim.
now. So go and watch all 8 or 9 episodes.
Nine.
9 episodes of WandaVision, and then come back and continue with this podcast. It was a cool show, and we watched it all together as a family, and that was one really, really fun. But 2, because you guys have lived with me all your lives, like I can't watch something and not see Jesus. Like,
Yes, we do know that.
Yep.
We do know that.
That is
When he
entirely
approached us
true.
about a Jesus podcast about WandaVision, at first I looked at him and I said, "What are we looking at in WandaVision? This story about 2 witch ladies and their evil witch magic." That is going to be about Jesus. And then I was like, whatever. I'm sure you have something. You always do. We'll just do it.
It's literally always something.
always, right? You have watched many a thing with me and been like, oh, there's Jesus right
A
there.
lot of them are really obvious. And then some of them I'm like, I mean,
Like WandaVision?
this show, I'm not sure. But
This show, there are 3 particular things that
I
I'm
see it
hoping
written.
that we'll have time in order to get to. But the very first one became a little more obvious at the end as we started to understand what actually was going on. But it is a huge, huge jumping off point for me. What happens when we lose free will? What happens when we lose free will? That is one of the great questions I think people that have lost their faith within Jesus. It's because something terrible has happened, something bad has happened within their life, and Jesus didn't stop it. How could you let that happen to me? Why didn't you stop that? Why didn't you do that? Why didn't you? And the go-to response for all of us within the church is, well, that's free will.
well, that is the correct response.
Right, and because it is the correct response. But does that help? I mean, does that
Often no.
That's exactly it. And WandaVision for me got into so many things about that, and we'll get into the why don't we just change things? Why don't we just stop things? But I wanted to start with that, the idea of free will. So. Again, everyone in the community, Wanda goes and takes over and captures the entire community, essentially, right? And then removes the free will of everybody else within that town. They are now under her complete control.
Yes, puppets.
And that has always been the argument about free will, right? That if we don't have it, we just become puppets within God's grand scheme. Am I making this up, or do you see it?
That
as we
is
talk about
yes, I agree.
No.
That is kind of the whole. It's not the whole point of WandaVision, but it's
No.
It's a driving plot line, and
yeah, it's like the whole plot.
yeah,
pretty much.
It's how do you describe it? It's the conflict.
it? Yeah.
It's the conflict
It's
of
the
WandaVision
conflict.
is
Big
that they have
words.
no free will, but in return, Wanda has the life that she wanted.
Yes. Right? And I think they do a really good job of showing the power, like you're drawn in with Wanda. Oh, I would want that too. She's lost everything. She's lost her brother, she's lost her parents, she's lost now the love of her life. And don't you want that back for her?
Well, yeah, but
Yes, but at what cost?
But at what cost, right?
Yes.
That's it. Yeah. I'm curious as to your reactions to that. Does Wanda become a villain because she has taken away the free will of 4,000 or 5,000 people in order to create the life for herself that she wants?
Well, I don't think she's necessarily a villain, but she's definitely not like a good guy. Like she's pretty morally gray at that point. Yeah. I don't think there are many characters just in fiction in general who are entirely good or entirely evil.
Yeah. Yeah, because often those characters then are pretty they're not very interested.
Yeah, just not. Yeah.
Only Jesus.
Well,
Good
there you
little
go.
pastor's son response for you. That's because only Jesus is all good.
all fully good.
Just like humans in real life.
Yeah.
Humans
Whoa.
in comics
How-
cannot
how
be all
profound.
good. And it's pretty impossible for somebody to write a comic book character that is all good if they are not all good themselves.
Yes.
So, I actually, from the very beginning of watching WandaVision, had the take that Wanda is a villain in the show. She's the protagonist of the show, but she's also still a bad guy in the show.
That's interesting.
And-
She is the main protagonist
Yes.
and probably the main antagonist at the same time.
Yeah. So it's like Thanos is the main character of Infinity War, in my opinion, but he's also the bad guy.
Yep.
I was under the impression through most of the show that Wanda is a bad guy in the show. But the show actually does a good job of there's not really anybody who's a good guy in the show. So that you can root for her because the good guys, like Boss Man of Sword, whose name I forget.
He's really not a very good guy.
He's a bad guy, but he's like for the good guy team, but he's a bad dude. Whereas Wanda feels like a good soul, but is doing bad guy things.
Yeah.
So she's like the bad guy in the show because she takes away everybody's free will for herself. And I would say that does make her the villain. And pretty much.
Like her actions are not really justifiable, but like they're understandable.
Ooh, that's a great way of putting it. Yes.
That is the answer right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, like even if like you can't excuse what she did, like she did some really bad stuff, and you can't like just be like, oh no, it's fine because she has trauma. Like that doesn't make it okay. It just lets you understand why it happened.
Like, I don't know why, but this was brought up in our household the other day. It's like the YouTuber apology that Peyton was making fun of. They're like, I was just in a really dark place at the time, and you're like, well, that doesn't mean you could do bad things to other people. Like, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
That's kind of what she's like, I was in a really dark place. And you're like, well,
You
yeah,
mind
but
controlled an entire town and made them all really sad.
a lot of people have been in dark places before. That doesn't mean doing bad things is okay.
Yeah. No, that's wow. Yeah. So again, and then the ripples of that for me just continue out from there. That was really good stuff. That was excellent stuff. One of the things that I'll share that again, as a pastor, I will freely admit treads on dangerous ground for me, is everyone's idea of perfection, everyone's idea of heaven is a little bit different. And what that will mean, I think, is going to be really challenging for people. So again, Wanda's idea of this is perfect. Like she creates perfection around herself, right? She creates her own personal heaven, essentially. And in so doing, Vision is not actually who Vision is anymore. Her kids even aren't that. The other people, and again, biggest thing, the other people in the town, they've now been co-opted into her world. I think about this from a heaven standpoint. I think most people, their idea of heaven is they're going to be able to go to heaven, and all the people that they know and love, they're going to be able to see them all the time, and it's going to work out great, and that's going to be fantastic. Well, just put myself in that shoes. All right, so eventually, at some point, I will die. I'll be in heaven with your mother. That'll be great. But is my idea of heaven that you guys are living in the house? Or is my idea of heaven that Sarah's parents are there living with us?
I never even thought of this.
Right? In the house along with my parents and all that too. But is my parents' idea of heaven the fact, well, they don't want the kids in that. Right? I mean, see the ripples of that? Like if everyone's idea of heaven is designed what's perfect for them.
Then it's not
And
good
what if
for
it-
everyone else.
I would say, I mean, if we're drawing analogies to WandaVision, Wanda makes this world for her and Vision.
Yes.
Like that's the idea of it, is it's her and Vision. You can see when she creates it, like she creates Vision first, and then
Yes.
the world is created. I would say it's in her mind the perfect world for the two of them. She built it for the two of them, not just herself. But Vision isn't happy in this world.
Yeah.
Right? So even her lover and the person that she cares about the most, and she's the person he cares about the most, even their idea of this perfect world isn't the same.
Yeah.
So that's a good question.
That's
That's a good question.
It is. It treads in very difficult stuff. Again, if these are curious faith, the idea around this is to have kind of questions and challenges about faith. I think this is where it starts to break down for a lot of people.
I think, for me, draws back into the other question of free will as well, where the idea of heaven is this perfect world, but also in the Bible, the idea of heaven is that you just praise God all the time, right? And if you're just praising God all the time, are you living freely, or all you're doing is praising God, right? And it's like, on earth, you can partake in activities that don't really praise God, and that's free will. But then do you have that free will in heaven if all of your time is devoted to praising God?
Well, that's a really deep question there. Wow.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and it's curious faith that I don't necessarily have the answer, you know?
I don't have an answer.
My 17-year-old.
Yeah.
You got the answer to that?
I don't know what I'm talking about.
The last time I was here, we talked about swimming and how, like, you know, I can use swimming to live a life for Jesus and for God. And, you know, so it's like, okay, so in that aspect, like, you can, but, like, also, like, your sermon, like, you know, talking about riches and money, like, people pursue money on earth, you know, because it makes your life easier, you know, I would say. But that in the Bible, they say don't pursue money directly, you know, like, you directly shouldn't do that. But on earth, many people do that, and that's part of free will. And it's like, is heaven if you don't have free will? I personally think to myself that there has to be some amount of free will even in heaven, because otherwise, why would God have a relationship with us on earth if then in heaven we have no relationship and we are puppets?
Yep.
You know?
Back to
Or
being puppets.
maybe in heaven everything is perfect because everyone wants to just worship God all the time.
Another thought. Yes.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And I think there's a school of thought that would say that, actually. Yeah, that, you know, you're going to be there, you're going to be in the presence of the creator of the universe. Why would you want to do anything else? Why would you care about who's in your house living with you and the age that they are, right?
The age, I
would think about that,
what age
right?
Whenever my prime is.
Right?
Who knows what that is, though.
Right? Do you get to go
Will
back
you
and
have,
review and be like...
Sorry, I'm going to roast you for a second. Will you have gray hair in heaven, or will your hair be black?
No. Prime time,
Sorry.
right?
Are you in your prime right now? I got to say that because I'm his son, and I will also have gray hair
That
at
is right.
35.
You say all the time, this is your future, my child.
Hopefully not for you at the same
Yeah,
time.
I'm just going to look like mom forever.
Yeah, that's
She still looks pretty good.
yeah,
A good point. Good thing to
solid point. We love you, Sarah. So all that gets to kind of wrapped around all that. Again, the initial question for me coming out of WandaVision is, boy, if someone were to ask me, why doesn't Jesus just step in? Why doesn't he step in and stop this from happening? Why doesn't he step in and remove that or whatever it might be? Honestly, I could say now, I think, man, watch 9 hours of WandaVision. Because that would be it. If Jesus were to step in and stop it all, I think that's a glimpse. It's not, of course, it's not perfect, but it's a
because
glimpse.
Wanda isn't perfect. So
No.
the world is.
Yeah, but it's a glimpse
nothing's
of the
perfect,
world
really,
that you
except
end up in.
Jesus.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yes, I get what you're saying. It is WandaVision is a perfect example of, like, we need free will, and sadly, if we need free will, then not everything can be perfect on Earth. You know, because humans aren't perfect, and if the life on Earth is a product of humanity, then it cannot be perfect. You know, so
Yeah.
I think that answers that question a little bit.
There we go. I don't know.
But yeah, I mean, again, let's think about that. Say we go to Wanda Maximoff, who has, lost her parents, lived in a war-torn country, finally kind of becomes part of something and immediately loses her brother, mostly because he needed to be in the X-Men universe and not in the MCU.
No, it's because... Wait. It's because they had to kill somebody in that movie.
Right, yeah.
There had to be stakes
there
or something.
Yeah, there certainly had to be that.
Always a red shirt.
Poor Pietro, the red shirt. But yeah, and then you start to get a glimpse of her life and it going well, through all of that, and then loses, the kind of the one anchor that she's got for that. Do you go to her and say, hey, there is a savior of the world, there's a savior of the universe, and he could have stopped all of those things from happening to you, but he didn't. Like, I mean, how do we, for those of us who consider ourselves Christians, how do we share that message to a Wanda Maximoff in the world?
And this is cliche and cheesy, but because the beauty of life is often in the bad things that happen, Like you don't appreciate the good things, and you don't appreciate the things in life that really are beautiful if bad things don't happen. And that's so cliche, and that's so easy to sit here and say. But
right,
but that's true. Like if I have a feeling that after COVID's gone, and there's a lot of people that are gonna value their time spent with their friends in person more than before. And it's like I lost a year of getting to see people in person for the most part, except for my family, pretty much. But like once this is over, I think I will value just being able to sit in a room with people I like and I don't even have to talk. We don't even have to be doing anything, just to like sit there and like look at their face. It's
their
like
whole face, not just the top half.
Right?
Their whole face. It's like I wouldn't appreciate that as much going forward if it wasn't for this very hard last year, and like there are a lot of that's easy to say, but it's also I think the truth.
Yeah.
But I mean, then again, you probably shouldn't go up to Wanda Maximoff and be like, "Hey, your brother wouldn't, and your entire family were killed, so that you could appreciate the good things in life."
I don't think that would go over well with her. That's
Yeah.
why she's the bad guy.
That's right.
Thank you for your contributions.
But no, you're right. And so some of that then gets back to another cliche, to be quite honest. I think one of the things that those of us who are people of faith need to recognize is that we need to earn the right to have that conversation. You need to earn the right to have that conversation with Wanda. You can't lead with that, right?
That's a great point, yes.
Right? Like you've got to build the relationship. You've got to let her sit in her grief. You've got to let her sit in her sorrow. You need to honor that as much as you possibly can, without necessarily, this time frame, this clock of, all right, but in a week I'm going to tell you about Jesus.
You have to show empathy first, I think is what you're getting at, right?
Well,
you can't just like walk up to somebody who just went through something awful and tell them like, oh, it'll get better, champ. But if somebody that they have a personal relationship, like sits there with them and cries with them, and then like 3 days later is like, let's go do something fun. Like, let's try to do something on the bright side. You can do that, but like coming from somebody you don't know, like that's just going to hurt.
Yeah.
Like you have to have a relationship and you have to be able to show empathy for what they're going through before also like encouraging them that they're, just because one bad thing happened doesn't mean life is an awful, and just because that one bad thing happened doesn't mean that there's not a savior of the world who wants good things for us either,
It gets to one of the stories of Jesus where his friend Lazarus has died, and he goes and he spends time with Mary and Martha. And the first thing that he does, meets them kind of where they're at. Actually, one wants to talk, and so Jesus just talks, and one is just crying, and Jesus just cries.
Yeah.
On that.
What's the verse?
Jesus wept.
There you go.
Easiest verse to
Sorry
memorize in
to
the
quiz you real
Bible.
quick there, but yeah, it's Jesus wept. Jesus was also sad and showed empathy and sat there and cried.
And that's it. Yeah, like that is a powerful reminder that, he met, hey, what do you need to do? Oh, you need to talk? Let's talk. Let's bounce that off. And where are you at? Oh, you're just crying. Okay. We'll just sit and cry.
And then Jesus wept.
And then
And Jesus wept.
There you go.
But sorry, it might be the only verse I have memorized, to be honest.
not true.
It might be. There are a lot of verses that I know, but I couldn't tell you them word
Yeah,
for word.
well,
if you know what I mean. Yeah. But Jesus wept. I got
You
that
got
one.
that one down. There you go.
I feel like we asked a lot of questions in this Curious Faith podcast and gave less answers than if I was a listener, I'd be like, well, you're just asking what I'm thinking. And it's well, yeah.
Well, it's called Curious Faith.
It's called Curious
It doesn't
Faith,
say anything
right?
about answering your questions about faith.
Well,
That's kind of his job, all right? What are you here
even
for?
that. No, I think that's really good. You two are actually. I would be curious your response on that. As people that have grown up within a Christian household, I think that the two of you are more the model of, you've always been surrounded by faith. Truly, for our listeners and in front of your dad, do you feel like you have all the answers, or do you feel like you have questions?
No, not at all.
Yeah,
I mean,
no, not in the slightest.
honestly, to be blunt, I feel like, especially in the last year, and I feel like I've had a hard 2 years, I probably have more questions about faith than I ever did. But I still sit here and I still know, I still believe at the end of the day that Jesus is real. I do. But I'm the pastor's kid and I'm able to give you all the cliche correct answers. But in the last 2 years, everything has been hard, you know, and I've probably asked more. I think part of that's age. I'm growing, I'm maturing, and I don't think asking questions about things is wrong. I actually think it's the right thing to do. But it's been a hard 2 years, and I have mostly questions, and most of the time I'm like, well, here's the cliche answer to yourself, but but the questions are good, I think too, you know.
Similar spot.
Yeah, I mean, I've always had questions, and and I've had the stereotypical answers Jesus is the answer to everything. Whenever someone asks you a question in youth group, you just say Jesus and you're good.
Yeah.
But there are more complicated answers than that, and I have none of those answers. So there've been a lot of questions. Yeah, like you said, especially over this past year, because got a lot of time to just sit inside by yourself and think about things. Or even there've been a couple of times when I've been sitting on a Zoom call with my friends and we've just started talking about religion. I don't even know how that topic comes up, but it did. And sometimes I walk away from that with more questions than I had going in, and I think that's great.
Mm-hmm.
I would actually, to kind of plug going to church here for a second. I went to college after I graduated in 2018, so that was 3 years ago now. I'm getting old. Not really, but I would say part of it, you should go to church. A lot of the reason that sometimes I have questions recently and not answers is because in the last year, being church online isn't really the same. And the year before, it being at school, I was going to church maybe once a month, not the same. And I do think that going to church helps with that. Just go to church, everybody. Just throwing that in there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Unsolicited, truly unsolicited.
Well, it is our family's life. I'm joking. But it's been a hard year and everything, and but a lot of times when I have questions about faith, and I felt this my freshman year of college when I was alone for the first time more than ever. The first time I finally went to church there with somebody, it was just an experience. I walked in and they started singing and I cried because and but I hadn't been to church, and it was easy. I was just sitting on questions and sitting on things. And I feel like a lot of times you go to a sermon and you listen to somebody, or you like hear worship, and like that kind of is a way sometimes like Jesus can speak to you through that, and then like your questions might be answered there in a way that like, you know, you won't be able to answer them yourself.
Yeah.
Or even sometimes even the pastor doesn't know that he's answering your questions, but like you being there, you know, like it really does help. And I would say like, go to church, everybody. Go to church.
Yeah, church is cool. Church is fun.
That's a great place to end right there.
Why don't we end there? Questions aren't bad. Go to church.
Questions are really, really good. They're absolutely always welcome at Hope. We say that all the time.
Every day.
And
there should be a place where you can come and ask questions and try to figure all this Jesus stuff out.
We're going to end this before you guys start quoting me. That's a terrible. Like, thank you for coming to be a part of this. Thanks for talking about WandaVision with me. And truly, thank you for your insight, because it is encouraging to hear people that have heard so much of me, and then you guys, you say stuff that is clearly your own, and honestly, that really does get me excited.
Well, you're welcome, and I enjoyed myself. Did you?
I also enjoyed myself. It's quite fun.
A lighthearted topic that gets really deep really fast somehow, you know?
Exactly. There was, again, you watch stuff with this lens, you see Jesus everywhere, and it really it gets to cool stuff. So.
If you listen to this and you hadn't watched WandaVision and you didn't care about the spoiler alert, I don't think we spoiled it that hard. You should go watch.
You should still go watch it.
If we're having these deep conversations based on the show, it must be pretty good.
Maybe we even made people like even more curious about WandaVision. More people will go watch it now, and Disney can get more money.
Pirate it somehow. Don't give them the money.
No, now we have to stop.
I'm kidding. Do things legally. I'm kidding. We're getting off track. Let's wrap this up.
Perfect. Thank you. Thanks to everyone who's been watching, or everyone who has been listening. I can't wait for you to join us for our next Curious Faith that we'll be doing here in just another week as well. But until then, Carter, Risa, you're excused from the next podcast, but maybe that's it. We'll see you back here both soon. Very much. Thanks. Yeah, you guys are awesome. And that's it for now. Bye-bye. Thanks.
Bye.